Good evening, everybody. Jason here from Porch Cookin. We're back with another video. Tonight, I'm going to be prepping a pork loin to be smoked tomorrow evening for dinner. I'm going to inject it with an injection mixture that I'll show you how to make up here in a few minutes and inject it with, and then it's going to set overnight in the refrigerator until I'm ready to smoke it tomorrow. So the first thing we did for this pork loin is that we cut the fat back off of the pork loin. The reason for cutting the fat off of it is because that fat back isn't going to render down like it would on a pork shoulder when we're doing pork. So I didn't have to mess with it later, so I went ahead and cut it off as much as I could and trimmed her down. The first thing we're going to do tonight before we put it in the refrigerator, sit overnight, is we're going to go ahead and get the injection inside of the meat so it kind of marinates. Okay, so for the injection that we're going to be using for this pork loin for tomorrow's smoke, we're going to be doing a concoction of apple juice. We're going to be using about a cup of that. We're going to be using a cup of water. We're going to be using a cup of apple cider vinegar. We're going to be using 2 tablespoons of worschesire sauce. And finally, we're going to be using 2 tablespoons of our Frag Out Purple Heart or Maple Bacon rub. You can use any type of rub you like or would want to use for this. I am just doing this for tomorrow because I like the taste of it. Because say now what you want to do is when you get your injector, you just want to get some in there. And then you just want to inject it until you think it's full enough for it. Put the injector slightly in and just push down on it. Now when you're doing it, it's going to rise up a little bit. That's just filling it up with the fluid. Just do a couple different spots. It's going to leak out a little bit. That's okay. It's going to give this a very good taste as it smokes tomorrow, and it'll help it not to dry out as it smokes. So we've got our pork loin injected with our mixture. We're going to cover her up. We're going to put her in the refrigerator and let her sit overnight. Tomorrow morning, we're going to give her a little bit more of the injection, and we're also going to use our rub that we're going to be putting on it tomorrow morning. We'll put it back in the refrigerator to set. Good afternoon and welcome back. It is the next day. Our pork loin has sat in the refrigerator for roughly a little over 12 hours with the injection. We're going to go ahead and get the seasoning on this loin. That way, once the rain lets up, we can get it in the smoker and get it cooked before the heavy stuff comes on later this evening. So what we're going to be using today is, for a little bit of the AP seasoning, we'll use our Happy Macros from Frag Out. And we're also going to be using the Maple Bacon Purple Heart from Frag Out, which we used a little bit in the injection that we used. So let's go ahead and get her seasoned up. I'm going to go ahead and do a layer of the all-purpose real quick. And then we're going to throw on the second layer of the maple bacon. That way it kind of gives it that little bit of a flavorful profile, and it kind of brings it out a little bit. This Happy Macros is really good. Now we've got our Happy Macros all-purpose seasoning on. We're going to go ahead and throw on some of this maple bacon. And the purpose for doing the 2 layers, the all-purpose first and then this, it just helps bring out the flavor a little bit more and gives it just a little bit more. So as you can see, we've got our spices on our pork loin. It's got a really good color already, and it's smelling really good, even though it hasn't been smoked yet. We're going to put it back in the refrigerator for a little bit. So just a quick update while we've got the barbecue sauce on there cooking and the pork loin in the refrigerator. The weather doesn't seem to be cooperating today to be able to get her out in the smoker. So we are going to go ahead and continue with the video, but we're going to put the pork loin in the oven and see what kind of results we get. It's not going to be the same as if it was in the smoker, but I've already started the video. Okay, so we've got the oven heating up to 400 degrees. That's what we're going to bake this pork loin at today, since we can't smoke it in the smoker. It's going to be in the oven for about 35 minutes or so. About the 30-minute mark, I'm going to insert a thermometer, just check the internal temp so I know how much longer it will be needed to stay in the oven for. The internal temp target that we're shooting for is 145 degrees. Once it reaches that degrees mark, we will be pulling the pork loin out of the oven and we'll be ready to eat. So the pork loin is looking good. It's ready to go in the oven. Oven's at temp. Let's get her in there. So now that the pork loin is in the oven, we're going to set the timer for 35 minutes, check it about the 25-minute mark, and then go from there. So the pork loin's got about 10 minutes left to go. I went ahead and pulled it out real quick so I could get a quick internal temp read. Check out the color on this from being in the oven for about 25 minutes or so. As you can see, the color is turning out pretty amazing on the pork loin. We'll go ahead and turn in the internal temp probe real quick just to see what we're at, and then put her back in the oven and finish cooking. As stated before, the internal temp we're looking for is around 145. It's rising pretty quick, so it's almost done. I would say another 10 minutes or so, depending on what it settles at. But it's looking good. It's smelling amazing. So pork loin's got about 2 minutes left. I'm going to do a quick recap on where we got to this point. Last night I went ahead and cut all the fat off the back of the pork loin because that fat will not render down either while you're baking it or if you're smoking it, which was the the original plan today. From there, we put our injection concoction together with the apple juice, the apple cider vinegar, and a couple other items that will be listed in the description down below. We injected the pork loin in a couple different spots. That way it stays moist during the baking or the smoking process. From there, we put the pork loin in the oven at 400 degrees. It's been baking for about 35 minutes now. It's got literally a minute and a half left. It smells amazing. It looks amazing. The color looks great. Once the pork loin is done, remember the internal temperature that we're aiming for is 145 degrees. So next best part coming up, we get to try it. So the pork loin is at temp at 145 degrees. There's what she looks like. It looks amazing. It smells amazing. Now comes the best part, trying it. So here we go. It's got amazing flavor. It's really, really good. So now I'm going to try it with the barbecue sauce. That turned out pretty good. Better than I actually thought it was going to. So, all right, so there you have it. It's a baked pork loin instead of a smoked pork loin this evening due to the weather. Fairly good, fairly simple recipe. The recipe will be in the description down below. If you like what we're doing on the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. If you have any suggestions on any recipes you'd like to see us do, drop them in the comments below. I'm Jason from Back Porch Cooking. See you next time.